FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and today is June 27th, 2019, and it's time for another Triple Lutz report. This is episode 469. Well, hey, first, don't forget, contest is on. All you got to do is guess the correct price of Bitcoin for midnight, July 20th. And you have to get closer than I am. I've already stated my guess for the record, 66.50. Sounds like a sure winner, doesn't it? Other rules, when you send your email to kl@kerrylutz.com with your guess, please put Bitcoin in the subject line, followed by anything else you like. Also, all entries must be received no later than 11:59 p.m. on July 14th. And this is our anniversary, 8th anniversary celebration, plus my birthday coming up. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but you probably know already. I've mentioned it before, just not relevant here. And prizes. So right now we've got about 400 entries. If we can get it to 1,000, I will up the prize to 100 pre-1965 quarters. All right. That means they're 90% silver, and wow, it'll be worth about $250. If we don't hit 1,000 entries, it's okay. You'll still get 40 pre-1965 90% quarters, and can't beat that. You just have to get closest. The 5 runner-ups under the current rules, less than 1,000 entries, first 5 runner-ups will each get a pre-1965 25-cent piece, 1. However, if there's 1,000 entries, then those 5 runner-ups will each get 10. So we'll be giving out a total of about 150 pre-1965 silver, 90% silver quarters. Pretty good deal. All you got to do is guess. The email address is kl@kerrylutz.com. So, I'm not one to brag, but I love to brag. Hey, right? You always know when somebody says, I'm not one to brag, just get ready for the bragging rights because they're coming. And hey, I'm no different. I like to pat my own hat, pat myself on the back. But the reason why it's quite simple is that nobody understood what was coming down the road before I did, particularly about Trump. I predicted his victory in July of 2015. I was spot on. Now, this one I might have only said once or twice on the show. I don't know. But my buddies at Starbucks will back me up on this. After Trump's victory, I said he's going to build the wall. I didn't know how he was going to do it, but I said he was going to do it. And it is somewhat getting built now. He will build it, that's for certain. But the other prediction I made was quite uncanny. I predicted that regardless when the wall got built, that at some point Mexico was going to station troops on the border. And they would do this for the simple reason that Mexico's importance to the U.S. is greatly overshadowed by the U.S.'s importance to Mexico. The fact is, Mexico would be a backwater, probably wouldn't even be a country now, if they didn't have the United States at their northern border, where they could sell products, services, service the American markets, agricultural, all these things. Oil for a long time, although they've managed to screw that one up. And my contention was that I knew Donald Trump personally and had watched his career from his first big deal, which was the acquisition of the Commodore Hotel right next to Grand Central Station, which subsequently became the Grand Hyatt of Manhattan, saw how he worked, and the man knows leverage. And it's a simple matter. If he says to Mexico, stop sending this wave, this horde of invaders, oh yeah, they're going to tell the U.S., yeah, screw you, we don't care, isn't going to make any difference, nothing you can do about it. Mexico is free, and we will do whatever we please. But then, if Trump says, yeah, I agree with you guys, you're free, you can do whatever you want, but what if I just stop all your exports coming to the U.S.? hey, we'd be sad not to have avocados, but you know what? We'll just grow more of them in California. We're just going to stop all your exports, and we'll stop all the drugs. And not only that, but we're going to stop the remittances, those Western Union moneygrams that go from the U.S. back to Mexico. We're just going to stop all that. How long do you think you are going to remain as a country? And believe me, Trump maybe didn't come out and say all these things, although knowing him, he very well could have, but he certainly could have implied them or just said, imagine what would happen if we halted all remittances to Mexico tomorrow. How long do you think your country is going to last there? And basically, this is exactly what he did. And the results speak for themselves. Nobody said that this could be done. Everyone said, no, you can't stop them. The Mexicans, we just have no control over the Mexicans. Well, we had a war with Mexico. We've taken over territory. My feeling is if Mexico doesn't want to cooperate, we send our military out and we take 100 feet of Mexican territory past the border. We just set up fences there. That way, any of the illegals get to that point, unless they get over this fence or multi-layers of razor wire, they're not getting into the U.S., therefore they can't seek asylum. You know, Trump, he never ceases to amaze the left. And yet, for me, it's, hey, I'm just surprised it took 2.5 years. That's the shock to me. I knew he was going to do it because he was going to be left with no choice. And the wall is still going to be built. These people in Congress, we need to vote them all out. Whether they're Democrat or Republican, they're anti-you, they're anti-me, they're anti-free market, they are anti-American, they are evil, many of them. They are into things that would just make your skin crawl. They're so hideous. They are the most despicable black people that you can imagine. I mean black, not in terms of skin color. I'm talking about in terms of soul, lack of soul. They have no soul. Find Mitch McConnell's soul. Find Nancy Pelosi's soul. She might have had one, but she's probably forgotten that she ever had one due to the onset of dementia and old-timers disease. These people are evil. They all need to be voted out. There are choices coming. And look, I've been telling you now for 8 years. I said, I don't know when gold is going to come back. I do know it is. I do know that the policies that the country is engaging in cannot continue onward indefinitely. You can't just create something out of nothing. You can't just keep printing up money and expecting it to have no effect on the global economy, especially when the U.S. is the world's reserve currency. What's really interesting is while the contagion started here in the United States back in 2007 with the subprime real estate bust, and then it spread into all sectors of the economy, the stock market, financial companies, the banks went bust. What happened in the rest of the world was far worse and is far worse. Well, you could argue that to some extent the U.S. has come back. The rest of the world has not. Yeah, China, you don't know their real growth rate. Yes, they're building tons of stuff, but you have to realize about China, they started from such a low level that anything is an improvement. Yes, they have built 85,000 miles of their version of the interstate highway system. Great engineering feat. A lot of those miles that were built 20 years ago are really no good, extremely defective, deficient, poor quality construction. Just, don't give them too much credit for that. Yes, they built thousands and thousands of high rises of apartment buildings and have some of their citizens even live there. A lot of them are empty. Eventually, I think they will be occupied, assuming that they get in there and they maintain them so they don't fall down first. But in any event, a lot of their growth has come from malinvestment, and we'll be seeing the results of it. A huge credit boom that, if they're going to keep inflating the credit cycle, and they did 28 trillion last time, what are they going to do for the next recession? 180 trillion? It'll have to be at least 10 times more than it was. Eventually, that's going to have an effect. You could be certain of that. Hey, wanted to talk about last night's so-called wannabe presidential debate. Man, to me, Master Beto won it. Beto O'Rourke, Robert Francis Irish O'Rourke won it when he started answering a question in Spanish that was asked to him in English. Now, look, this might go for the wacko left wing of the Democratic Party. It is not going to work with middle America. And then they all start speaking Spanish, at least the ones that can, and the ones that can't, like, hey, what's his name? Cory Booker, whatever you want to say about him. He was a horrible mayor, awful senator, awful person. Make no mistake about it. But he spoke Spanish better than Beto, but he was so mad because he was upstaged that Beto spoke first. And when your leading candidate for the night is a cigar store Indian, a fake cigar store Indian, and I mean that with the greatest respect to Native Americans, indigenous peoples, when she's a fake indigenous person, she's a total fraud. Just listen. Remember 2004, John F. Kerry, another faker from Massachusetts. He's running for president, and he goes to a place in some Ohio or somewhere, and he said, "Can I get me a hunting license here?" This is total fake. We're watching John F. Kerry eat a cheesesteak, and the guy has got a face on him like, oh my God, I can't believe I am prostituting myself like this. This thing needs to be tossed in the garbage. I don't eat steak that sells for less than $50 a pound. I'm John F. and Kerry. And you saw the expression on his face. So Liz Warren, she does a video at home and she's with her husband. I didn't even know she had a husband. I think he's her houseboy. Myself, she's definitely the breadwinner of that family. And she says, I'm going to get me a beer. I mean, is she reading from John F. Kerry's script? So silly. A, the woman doesn't drink beer. She is a Chardonnay drinker like her soulmate Hillary. And B, it's like, this is not the way she speaks. She's a highfalutin Boston Brahmin, even though she's not from there, but she's settled there. She's a Massachusetts senator. She cannot win. She cannot come close. I know what everyone thinks. She just has no chance at it. But the whole thing was showcased, according to our good friend Don Serber, to make her shine for the evening. And all you could say is she didn't self-immolate. Tulsi Gabbard, my own personal favorite in the Motley Crew, the 10 Dwarfs, she shined out because she was authentic. She really said what she believed. Therefore, she will be ejected from the Democratic Party. Of this, you can be absolutely certain. But my all-time favorite from last night's performance was Comrade D, or otherwise known as Mayor Bill de Blasio, the commie from New York City, a total incompetent moron, the least self-aware individual on the planet. He really needs to be locked up. He is so corrupt to the core. Everybody around him has been convicted or indicted. They're going to get him eventually because he doesn't know that maybe pay to play might not be totally legal. Maybe there's other better ways to sell your soul than pay to play. If so, he's not bright enough to figure it out. And he just said, oh yeah, there's plenty of money all around. It's just in the wrong people's hands. And he's going to use government to get it into the right people's pockets. And that is totalitarianism. This guy is a moron. He got like 5% on the flash polls of support, which pretty much everyone else got except for Tulsi Gabbard. She hit 40% on Drudge, and the fake Indian, Liawatha got about 25%. The rest were non-entities. I follow politics. When there's three guys that I don't know who they are, I wasn't even aware or barely aware they were running for president, and that's the best the Democratic Party's got. Well, let's see what happens tonight. Tonight is going to be a lot of fun because Bernie's there. And Bernie, if nothing else, is good for some laughs. Especially if you're from New York. I'm Bernie Sanders, and I want to give you everything I can. I will bankrupt the federal government to give you everything to buy your vote. So a vote for Bernie is a vote for the future, but you might not like that future. But Bernie, at least, I don't know if he's real. I think he's a fraud as well, because look, when it comes to Bernie at home, he's a capitalist. He had a best-selling book I didn't read it. I didn't buy it, but maybe you did. And Bernie has 3 homes. One of them I'm pretty convinced was a payoff for supporting Hillary from the last election. $1 million homes, big homes on the Lake Champlain in Vermont. Vermont is, with the exception of Styx, Hex, and Hammer 666, is a lost state. They don't know what they're doing. The only good thing is they're really pro-Second Amendment. You don't need a carry permit to carry. You can't even get a carry permit. You're allowed open carry, all this stuff. I think open carry. If I'm wrong, correct me, please. And send your email, send your entries, kl@kerrylutz.com. Let's talk about gold for a little bit. Gold right now, trading at 1405.50, 1405.50 on the bid, down $3.10. Not exactly surprising. Telling you, I'm thinking from its peak, it'll be down to about 1340 thereabouts. A good chance of going there. I won't say for sure. Interesting though, 30-day change, it's up $126.60. That's just about 10%. 1 year change, it's up $153.90, which is 12.3%. So among the best performing asset classes, other than Bitcoin, I'm not really going to talk about Bitcoin now, other than to say that it's really gone up. If you hadn't noticed, but Bitcoin is not the future. Cryptocurrencies are not the future, and you'll see why shortly. I promise you that. Everyone says, well, all these companies are going in there and they're going to stabilize it, whatever. No, the companies aren't going in there to stabilize it. It's more likely that the future of cryptos is the Libra by Facebook, the so-called stable coin. So it has a fixed value. I know many of you wrote that on YouTube and sent me emails about it, but it's fixed. But what's his name? The Zuck has the right to change the value whenever he feels like it. If the dollar goes down 25% against a basket of currencies, he's going to adjust it. Trust me on that one.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Today's show is brought to you by U.S. Gold Corp. U.S. Gold Corp is a U.S.-focused gold exploration and development company advancing high-potential projects in Wyoming and Nevada. U.S. Gold Corp has consolidated a district on Nevada's productive Cortex trend and is advancing the Copper King project towards production in Wyoming, led by a team of prolific company builders and renowned explorers, including Dave Mathewson, who is directly responsible for several major Nevada gold discoveries. U.S. Gold Corp is well-capitalized and has an extremely tight share structure with less than 20 million shares outstanding and trades on the NASDAQ, a major exchange, under the ticker symbol USAU. To learn more, go to usgoldcorp.gold. That's usgoldcorp.gold.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
So that, in my opinion, is the future of cryptocurrencies. And right now, they're nice speculative vehicles. Everybody's having fun. But in the future, if they're going to coexist with the sovereign right to issue currency, the self-given sovereign right, then they're going to have to figure out how to get along with the powers that be. And the way they will do that is by tying their coins to specific sovereign currencies. There'll be one tied to the dollar, one tied to the euro, to the yuan, you name it. That's the way this thing is going to shake out. And all of these so-called crypto or kleptocurrencies that float alongside sovereign currencies, well, they're not going to be allowed to float. It's kind of an extension of the Legal Tender Act. Legal tender, it says it right on your money. This note is good for all debts, both public and private. And it's the same thing with the cryptos. For them to be convertible into regular currency, they will be required to be tied to the currency itself. So therefore, your play against a corrupt fiat currency isn't going to exist. That's where we're headed here. Facebook, that's why they're all jumping on the bandwagon, because it's not going to be something that you can speculate on. Now, that being said, you've heard it here many times before, the blockchain is has many, many other purposes, other uses besides being used as a store of, or so-called store of value. You know, you and I both know right now, the blockchain is not a store of value. It's a means of speculating. You know, probably same people here, they're speculating on currency prices, and there's nothing wrong with speculation in and of itself, but all great speculators are in many ways at least part gamblers. And, you know, speculation is gambling, but hopefully with an edge. Like, you know this company really well. For instance, I had the best speculation. One of them that I had in my life was TiVo. And that was the digital recording company. They could record, enabled you to use a DVR to time shift television. Dish Network infringed purportedly on their patent. I don't really know if they did or not, but the court found that they did. They were sued in Texas in the so-called rocket docket, like Marshall, Texas. And they had a big, long lawsuit. The head of Dish refused to buckle under and pay TiVo any money. They got hundreds of millions of dollars judgment. They tried to do a workaround. That was found to also infringe upon TiVo's patent. So then there were punitive damages heaped upon it. TiVo went from like $3.50 to $12, and I wrote it the entire way. And it was a speculation because they could have lost their appeal to either the U.S. Court of Appeals. Well, there's the Patent and Customs Court in Washington, I think it went to the Fifth Circuit here. Fifth Circuit affirmed. I knew they would. Then they tried a last-ditch appeal to the Supreme Court. But before they appealed to the Fifth Circuit, I had a friend of mine who was an expert patent attorney, took a look at it, said, yeah, they're almost certainly sure to prevail, TiVo, because there was a jury and judges, appeals courts, very, very hesitant to overturn jury verdicts, believe it or not. And the judge involved was a very experienced jurist, seldom ever had any of his decisions overturned. So that's speculating, that's gambling with an edge. I would call, like back in the early days of blackjack card counting, I'd call that speculation as well, because you were able, using these techniques, to turn the odds in your favor, but they didn't necessarily ensure that you were going to win, just that if you played enough hands over time, the percentages said you would win. And a lot of these card counters got wealthy. A few of these teams really got wealthy. They figured out how to further manipulate the rules. Now that just doesn't happen anymore because the casinos have really shut it out. There's no possible way that you can card count and beat the casino without them throwing you out in Vegas. And they've changed all the rules. I mean, you just don't get an even break in Vegas anymore. You don't even get as good a bad break as you used to get. Now you're just totally shafted, nickeled and dimed. And the whole place is just, it's always been tilted against you, but now it's to the point where you pretty much have no chance, no matter what table you're at. So enough of that. So anyway, getting back to the debate, well, Bernie and Biden is just a total dupe. He is a fool. He's lost whatever edge he had, and he's just going nowhere. The guy is going to be whipped down. You can see they're already going after him. I don't think he has a chance against Elizabeth Warren. He certainly doesn't have a chance against Trump. My gut feel is Hillary's coming back in this thing. And they're going to beg her to come back because they know that not one single one of these candidates, all 36 of them or however many there are now, not one of them has a chance against Donald Trump. And Hillary doesn't either, but she certainly has a better chance through the vote rigging mechanism, through the party machine, all of these things. I mean, can you see all of these people committing voter fraud for Elizabeth Warren to get her elected? She has nothing on them. She has no leverage. Hillary has leverage, blackmail ability on everyone. So push comes to shove, Hillary will be back. hey, if you got a favorite candidate, let me know. Email me along with your Bitcoin entry, kl@kerrylutz.com. Tell me why you think these things are so, why these candidates, why you think they're so wonderful and they're going to prevail. I mean, if anyone out there really believes Comrade de Blasio is going to win, I'd love to hear about that, but he doesn't even think he's going to win. So how could you think he's going to win? It's just never going to happen. All of these 24 candidates, which I think it is now, all of them have one thing major in common. They are all losers. They're negative. They have no sense of humor. They're unpleasant. They're unfriendly. They're down on everything, complaining about the world. And it's just not what people want to hear. You want uplifting. You want to be inspired, making people feel bad about their country. And believe me, there's plenty of reasons to feel bad about it. I'm not defending that. It's just not a prescription for success. Well, I'm glad I got all that off my chest. Hey, write to us with any guests, any questions or comments. If you've got guests, you know that we do our best to get your guest requests on the air. We love doing it. Hey, send back your email entry, Bitcoin price on 7/20. Last day to enter 7/14 at 11:59. Put in the subject line Bitcoin, and then you got to get closer than me. My bet 66.50. I'm not looking too good right now, but we'll see what happens next. Hey, anyways, this has been another Triple Lutz Report. Kerry Lutz signing off.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.